How would you like to make the first million? And today we have Nick Grose, is the founder of Grose Wealth Management and provide comprehensive wealth management services through Bay Colony advisors. Nick specializes in helping individuals approaching or enjoying retirement gain a sense of security and confidence in the financial future so they can stop worrying about money and focus on what mattered the most. So, Nick, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Yeah, I thought about this 5-step rule ahead of time that you mentioned before, and first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here and
Pleasure.
appreciate you hosting me. But yeah, I guess I don't know if I organize them in highest priority to least priority, but I'll start out. The first one that came to mind for this 5-step would be mindset. And when it comes to mindset, just the conviction in yourself. You have to first believe in yourself that you will be successful before anyone else will even believe that as well. So I spend time daily right now and in the past, whether it's training in hockey or focusing on business, I spent time reinforcing that conviction through prayer, self-talk, visualization practices. If you don't believe in yourself, other people will not either. I know in sports, there's a similar sort of thing where a lot of visualization training is extremely important at the high levels of sports. And, take hockey, for example, what I played growing up. If you want to go out there in a game and score a big goal for your team, you don't just step on the ice at the start of a game and just hope that it might happen. You can get in that mindset before the game or in the weeks and days leading up to it. Visualize yourself leading up to that goal. Visualize yourself scoring the goal. Get into the feeling, the body feeling and the mindset feeling of being at that elated state. These sorts of trainings actually do help, whether it's in sports or in business. So seeing yourself closing a big deal or providing great value to your clients, same kind of idea. The second sort of step I would look to is an idea of constant learning. So obviously you study in school growing up and everything, but you need to constantly be sharpening your tools. And in my business and wealth management, it's your brain. So you need to constantly be studying. Whether it's listening to financial market and economics podcasts in the car, waking up, putting on Bloomberg radio, reading industry blogs, and incessantly reading books. I'm constantly trying to increase my knowledge base so that I can provide a higher level of service. Same thing, I can relate this to athletes as well. When an NBA or NFL or NHL player makes it to that highest level, they get drafted in the first round or something. They don't just make it to that point and then stop doing what got them there. They continue to know their strengths and their weaknesses and practice those day in, day out. So my third step would be trusting a proven process. Overnight success is is pretty much a myth. Success comes from following a proven process that you've seen others in the past do and that works. You won't get instant results. You need to be consistent and get those small daily wins, and they will compound into greater success in the long run. It's like building wealth in your early years of investing. You don't just want to chase a recent fad and hope and take a huge amount of risk and hope to 10x your money overnight. Those sorts of things often don't turn out as great as expected. You stick to the proven processes, of dollar cost averaging, diversifying your investments, focusing on time in the market rather than trying to time the market. This stuff works, and the power of compound interest, which Benjamin Franklin in his biography put it as the eighth wonder of the world, the power of compound interest. It's a proven process. It works. So sticking to a proven process with your business follows the same rules.
Nick, become wealthy and make the money work for you. I recently visited last week my friends, and they have been they are employees, right? They've been employees all their life, and they have very good salaries. However, something happened in their life. They now have a kid, so now they need to take the girl to school. They have to pick her up. They want to spend more time with the girl, and now somehow they told me that they want, both of them, they want to change career path. They were looking more into buy some properties and to explore another financial vehicles that they don't necessarily need to work 8 hours on the road, and basically that somebody else feed the calendar for them. So situations in life change, and people, or sometimes life give you new challenges. And my friends, they've never been worried about wealth management or how to create a cash flow income, because you see there were only both of them. They go to work, they make good money, they have nice house, they have nice car, and they're coming back, and it's no problem. You don't have any children, so you go and work 8 hours and everything is fine, and then you go on holiday. But then something happened in your life, and they're like, wow, hold on a minute, this doesn't work. I need to find something else. And then they start to start the education process to find professionals like you that kind of guide them. Well, where can they invest the money, what cash flow opportunities they can have. But Nick, it's more difficult to keep the money that actually make it. I know a lot of people that make the money, lose it, make the money, lose it, make the money, lose it. And so tell us, what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of keeping it the money and put the money to work for you? So you go and work because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And that is, I'd say, a good like majority of our job as wealth managers. We often work with older people getting ready for retirement and then throughout retirement. And I mean, half of the job is giving them the peace of mind and managing their money in a way so that they don't run out as they are pulling out chunks year after year after year, and it can last them until they're gone and then still leave behind a good legacy for their kids or their churches or charity. Um, yeah, we've seen horror stories in the past. I'm newer in the industry. However, my father has worked 30 years building his own business, and he's seen people that worked for a big company, say General Electric, for example, for 20, 30 years, got a good pension with them, got stock, and then they saw the stock. They had all their, not all of their wealth, but a lot of their wealth in that one stock, and it dropped down in '08. So
Wow.
it's scary. You get horror stories of people kind of putting
Mhm.
all their eggs in one basket, and it's tough when it's a basket that you can't control yourself. If you are investing in yourself, or in, say, you want to get a bunch of real estate and you want to own it and manage those properties, that's a lot different because the buck kind of does stop with you. You can run victim to the market being bad, and that will be tough. However, you can put in the work and be investing in yourself and be investing in those properties that you manage. That's a lot different than putting all of your money into Dogecoin or one specific stock, and you're not the big owner like
Those
Warren
coins that go
Buffett.
to zero by night, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But even
Oh,
like a big name company like General Electric, you could take, or um, Lehman Brothers back in the '08 crisis. A lot of people
yeah,
had a lot of their money
absolutely.
in individual stocks like that and lost it over a course of a few weeks. It's really scary.
So, what message do you have for people out there that how to mitigate the risk, and what would be something sustainable? We have to share here that every time that you invest, money is risk involved. And Nick, how about the kind of investment? I'm a big fan of cash flow investments. So, uh, any can you share your opinion in cash flow investment versus capital growth? I see a lot of property investors that that they say, well, I want to buy a property and, don't worry about it. I want to go up in price. This is what I'm interested in. And my approach is totally different. I prefer monthly cash flow. Um, and if I'm investing in shares or things like that, I would like to perform as well, to generate monthly cash flow. So when you work with clients, if this is something that they need, could you be able to accommodate them, or how this process works?
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways, as they say, to like skin a cat, which I don't know where that expression comes from or why people want to skin cats. But anyways, there's lots of ways you can cut it. Say some people do like to get multiple real estate properties under their portfolio in individual properties, and then they're receiving the rents from the people living in those properties. Obviously, they want to get a cash flow high enough to cover the mortgage or cover all the expenses, new roof, new AC unit, anything like that. But when it comes to just overall, if you're talking about a general investment portfolio out like diversified among stocks and maybe some bonds as well, you can even do it that same sort of way. You can have a portfolio invested very diversified among, hundreds, thousands of stocks in various asset classes between US, large cap, small cap, dividend paying, growth, and then some international as well. When you've got a portfolio like that, you're quite diversified. You don't have all the eggs in one basket over various sectors, and you can slowly sell off little chunks here and there to pay a consistent cash flow. We do that for a lot of our clients that are in retirement and taking out money. Say they're taking out 15K a month to live off of. We've got a portfolio set up based on their comfortability and risk tolerance and their goals for their money and their timeline and everything, where we're able to make some small sells each month to be able to pay that cash flow based on which of these sectors are up and down. We can kind of optimize their portfolio that way so that we're not just putting all the eggs into, say, US big tech. If that goes down, 1 month really hard, like it did back in April, that would be tough to try to give them their 15K that month when it just dropped 15, 20%. So we want to make sure we're diversified and not subject to too much standalone risk in one sector.
Finance, Nick. Why you decide to become an entrepreneur and to have your own business?
Yeah, it started when I was younger. I grew up seeing my dad building his own business as a financial advisor as well. He started out with a big corporation and then went to the independent side to just get his own clients and be working for himself early on in the business back in the early 90s. And so I saw that growing up, and I liked, he'd have his annual summer party at our house and his Christmas party and invite all of his clients and family and friends as well.
Customer appreciation parties in your own house.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. But I got to meet a lot of them, and I saw that all of his clients with whom he works, they're all just really good friends of his as well. It's a business of relationships, and I really
and also they were
that.
happy as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody cares about this. See, Nick, there is a lot of people out there that would tell people, elderly people, they're very vulnerable. We tell them anything just to make some money, and sometimes they are exposed to a huge high risk. Um, so but when there are relationships in between, and when you actually care about your clients, could be a great plus. So you follow your dad's steps?
Yes. So followed his footsteps, and I just got interested at a young age. He set up college funds for us when we were younger. And whenever we would put money into our college fund that he would invest and it would grow to help pay for our college, he would match it dollar for dollar. So if I put in $200 from birthday money, he would put in another $200 into my college fund, so I could see that compounding growth.
Oh wow!
And I like that
about compounding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and that's kind of what piqued my interest. And then I just started diving really deep into it, studying finance and economics a lot through high school growing up, and then into college as well. And I kind of knew I wanted to enter this field, especially what you just mentioned with the building the relationships. It's funny, like you said, it's hard to, in a business like ours, wealth management, where we work as lifetime financial partner with our clients, and we have to know as much as we can about their lives, their personal goals, their kids, their everything about their lives almost. And when you are doing that, you end up becoming pretty good friends with them. So, like you said, when you are friends with someone, it also takes out that risk of wanting to be a quick trick artist and trying to, what do you call it, like a snake oil salesman, you know? You end up building a long-term relationship with these people, and you have even more skin in the game because you do genuinely care about them to want to do as best as you can. Obviously, you also have the legal fiduciary obligation, but that helps building that relationship.
I'm building wealth. So Nick, how you deal with adversity? For example, COVID was something that nobody ever was expecting that would could happen, and this is and had a huge impact in the markets out there, and how the investment perform. So how do you deal with the adversity, and any advice that you can share with us?
You're saying when, for example, like as COVID as an example of a big market drop,
Or on adversity, right? For your clients. So
adversity, yeah.
yeah, adversity, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And the big thing is getting yourself set up in a way preemptively so that you're not subject to getting hit too hard by one big event. For example, the tariffs, the tariff craze from the US this last April. That could have huge effects around the world, obviously, but one of the bigger sectors that got hit hardest in April, it's now come back, the market, but who knows what's to come in the future. One of the biggest sectors that got hit hardest was US big tech companies. And so we want to make sure that we're not just throwing all the eggs in one basket of just one little sector that could be hit hard. Say AI gets too good and the whole sector is wiped out. We want to make sure we're in many different sectors around the world so that we can withstand a big adversity instant like a COVID or tariffs or a new war starting.
Yeah, there are because it's about mitigating the risk, and the mitigating the risk, variety, and don't put your eggs in one basket. All eggs in your basket are a very important element, but also be realistic, Nick, because a lot of people go and say, look, I want to double my money. I want to this return. So can you share with us what is realistic in terms of returns for the investment, cash flow, some vehicles out there, good vehicles. So people that want to know more, they can actually contact you, but they have a little bit of education. What is actually is realistic and is good and is out there, and what actually somebody come to tell you, oh, you see, you double your money, you this, you need more to do more research in what's the vehicle that they are using it. It can happen, but it needs more due diligence, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of good ideas out there, and people can promote lots of different products. However, what it comes down to is you want to look at, luckily, we've got about 120 years of stock market data since the 1920s. And you can look at these, or 100 years or so, you can look at these 100 years of data and see that the market does go in one direction, upward and to the right. However, you have lots of bumps along the way. You have the Great Depression of the 1930s. You have COVID in 2020. You have the Great Financial Crisis in '09. You're going to have these bumps along the way. But when you just look at the overall averages, the S&P 500, for example, just the US market of mostly large cap stocks, it goes up over those last 100 years about 8 to 10%. And then you have various sectors that can be a little more volatile, but go up a little higher. Say small cap stocks, they're a little more risky, but they could achieve slightly higher than the S&P in the long run. But everything's always changing. You never can know which sector will be the winner in any given year. The big things you need to keep in mind are that there is ongoing inflation in any country where you have a printed fiat currency. So we had great times in the US of 1 to 2% inflation the last 15 years, but just recently since COVID, now we've seen higher years of inflation. Nothing compared to some other countries, like in South America, for example. However, knowing that there's going to be inflation every year, we do need to make sure that our money is working for us and not just being stuck under the mattress and losing to inflation each year by anywhere from 1 to 5%, say, in the US. So whether it's a mix of stocks and some bonds, like government bonds or anything, you need to get diversified and look at the data for
Bonds
the
are
last 30
safer,
years.
but they give less return, right?
For the most part, yes. And there's different flavors of bonds too. You can have the corporate bonds versus government bonds, which will be more risky and maybe pay a higher return, but you have
And the
that risk.
returns oscillate between how much which numbers?
What's that?
The returns in bonds oscillate between which numbers, just for our audience?
Oh, for the long run, I guess it depends on which sector.
Yeah. Let's say
Typically, if
corporate
you
versus government ballpark, so our listening have an idea.
yeah. So just take U.S. short-term government bonds over the long run. They're for the most part always going to be just above inflation. So right now, if short-term government bonds are paying about 4.5%, we're seeing inflation at about 4% or so, or 3.5%. This is always whether it's a short-term government bond in the US or a high-yield savings account or a CD, a short-term CD, those things are always going to be just above inflation. And sometimes people can think, oh, CDs are paying 5% right now. Well, what's the inflation going on right now? And it seems like it's a high number. However, if you look back 5 years ago when CDs were paying, say, 1%, inflation was also down towards that level. So there's return and risk are quite correlated. If you're not getting too much risk, like the short-term government bonds or CDs or high yield savings, you can more so expect to not have the potential for those higher returns like you could get in the stock market if you are invested in a good diversified way.
So when you told your dad that you're gonna start your own business, was he concerned? Did he prefer you to go and find a job? What feedback do you have from family and friends when they realize that you're gonna follow the step of your dad and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so he wanted me to join right away. He was all excited. He likes the business he's built, and he was very eager to have me come in and join. However, I mean, for me personally, I did want to go work a separate job with a company for a few years first to get some different experience rather than so I wanted to bring in some outside experience before joining on to him full time. I'm not saying that's the right course of action for everyone, but I think that definitely provided me with
It's amazing. It's a good idea. Great idea,
yeah,
actually.
a great perspective to go get some other experience in a slightly different job. Working for a big company. In my case, it was in consulting, and I, grinded out my hours, the 60 to 80-hour weeks often. But I wanted to do that first to get some different experience before joining on and working to build my own business as well.
Yeah. So, any message that you have for the entrepreneurs? We always talk about this, right? About the risk that that having a business, build a business, have, right? You can have um, a new technology come out and your business can disappear in weeks, and a lot of external factors can happen. We discuss this topic a lot in this podcast, that sometimes would be a good idea, rather than when people have a business and they're making all money, the entrepreneur tend to take all this money, put into the business, put it back to the business, make more money, take all this money, put it back into the business, make more money, put it back into the business. Whether a more diversifying idea could be, maybe the business making money, you go and buy a house, for example, you rent that house, and now the monthly money that this house is giving you as rent, you can use it for marketing for your own business. One day, if you go out of business, still you have the house producing you cash flow. And of course, depend on the business, because if you have a very good business that you have a very low customer acquisition, and you have high profit margins, would be a very good idea to reinvest in your own business, because you can increase your sales. So, talking to entrepreneurs and mitigating risk of with entrepreneurs, and what is your opinion about this topic? What do you think that entrepreneurs should also put all the eggs in one basket, the business, or they should be looking for some options to diversify the cash that they're making, to save for a rainy day?
That's a great question. And I do work with other entrepreneurs and business owners, and it's amazing when you can build something yourself and put the money you're earning back into your own business that you're working on. Because, and why so many entrepreneurs love that, I feel like, is because they can control it. Whereas something like the stock market can feel uncontrollable to them, which it is. They're putting in, pennies on the dollar when it comes to the stock market. They're not Warren Buffett going in and buying a whole company and changing the corporate structure and deciding how it's going to run. They are just becoming a tiny little shareholder and make no difference, honestly. So it's tough for entrepreneurs to want to throw money into something that they can't control when they've seen their own business that they do control grow so well, and when they keep pouring money into it. However, like you said, with the diversifying and trying to not put all the eggs in one basket, it is extremely important for entrepreneurs to build out a separate bucket of money and a separate bucket of growth for themselves. You never know what's going to come to your industry or your business, and it could seem like the most resilient industry and company in the world, that no technology could ever stop it. However, that we've seen that narrative throughout history. It does happen, and it's tough. Or anything could happen as well. What if you were to just not be able to physically work in your business? Say you're a carpenter and you're building houses. If you were to have a bad injury, could you leave it to your best secondhand man to run it in the same way that you did and provide the same success and work ethic that you did? It's very difficult, and it's a tough conversation to have with entrepreneurs, to get them to want to put money into other avenues that they can't control as much. So maybe a good first step for them is to own a few pieces of real estate, for example, like you mentioned, for the cash flows. They can have a little more hands-on experience with something like that, rather than just buying a diversified ETF fund in the stock market. So maybe that's their first foot in the door to getting diversified, but it is extremely important. The same way with why you don't put your whole investment portfolio into 1 or 5 individual stocks, and you want to get very diversified through different sectors and around the world. That same logic applies to your own business. You could kind of see that as, if you've got all of your wealth built up in your one company that you've built, it's quite similar to having all of your wealth in one individual stock. So I think when you put an analogy that way, maybe that can help get them to, want to get a little bit into other sectors and a little diversified.
Practicing sport and running business, when you are starting your business, you have a lot of new things to learn. You have a new client to handle. You're new in the business, so clients, sometimes you have to deal with them, and all these negative emotion, if you don't work on yourself, can become a physical pain. Some entrepreneurs can end up with cancer or heart attack or things like that. I find very helpful to practice a sport and to go for a walk, in terms of running businesses, and have this release of the normal tension, and you're performing at a high level. You're like an athlete in your business, but practicing sports is or go out for a walk at least, can contribute a lot to your mental health, and therefore you can perform better in the business. Uh, any positive things that you have noticed practicing sports that have helped you in to grow your business?
Yeah, I would say for sure. I mean, for me, growing up, I played ice hockey. My dad is Canadian originally, and so when I was old enough to walk, I was put on skates. So maybe that's like when I was 1.5 years old.
It's very intense, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yes, a very intense sport, and but I learned a lot in the years playing it. I had good, tough coaches growing up, and it taught me discipline and grit. It taught me the ability to stay on the ice for many hours,
And to work with
difficult
team, right?
training. What's that?
And to work as a team, right?
Exactly. Work as a team, yeah, and buy in. Because whether you are any given season, you could be the top player on your team or a bottom tier guy, and you need to figure out how to fill that role. And if you can be someone like that, that's able to come in at the lower tier of a new company and work your way up, or come in as a big important top dog, you need to be able to be someone that can be adaptive and fill either role by rowing the same boat as everyone else. You need to commit to the team for achieving a similar goal. But yeah, I'd say the big lesson I learned in hockey was discipline over the years, and I still play a little bit now in adult league and still work out frequently, just to clear my mind and stay in good physical health shape for helping me and staying awake and be able to work long hours for my clients. But yeah, I'd say the discipline and the grit. Just you go in every day and you practice on the ice with your team, but then you come home and you do off ice physical training. You shoot pucks and stick handle in your garage. All these little things, you just stick to that process because it has worked for players in the past. The ones that make it to the highest level, they do these things every single day. If you can commit to doing those things every day, you will achieve the higher success. You will make it to a higher level. The same thing with your business. Whatever it may be, you need to find a good, strong, proven process, stick to it, and those daily reps will compound over time. And success, it's not, you don't have an overnight success in business. It takes years and years of doing the right things and following that process. And you got to have discipline and grit to be able to do it.
It's a skill based. The more you practice, the better you become, right? If you want to become
Exactly.
good at the sport, okay, you need to develop the skill. So what you do when you develop the skill? Well, you have to practice a lot, and yeah, if you have a mentor or and a coach that can help you to achieve the goal faster. But entrepreneurship is we're talking about exactly the same thing. The more you practice, the better you become. You have to develop the skill, and once you develop the skill, um, you will be amazing. The good thing about skills is that everybody can do it. So there's completely different of talent. Talent is something different. Some people have talent to sing, and other people don't have talent to things because it's a talent based quality, not skill based quality. But the topic that we're talking today to practice sport or entrepreneurship is actually skill based. The more you practice, the better you become. When I do this conference all over the world, the audience always saying, "Wow, Harry, this conference is amazing. I love it." I'm just telling you guys, I have done this thousand times. That's why you see
Yeah,
that it's good.
they don't see all the work. They don't see all
Yeah.
the public speaking lessons, all the practice rounds you've done to memorize your speech. They just see you up on stage
Mhm.
performing at a high level, but they don't see everything that happened in the background to get
That
you to that point.
that's how I'll always share with them. Practice. The it's nothing amazing about what I do. Is just a lot of practice, a
Yeah.
lot of trial and error. And I think that this is all the entrepreneurs out there it's all based on the same umbrella. Now, in terms of leadership, we start business, we're making some profit, and then we think, okay, this is what I sign up. I sign up to have my product, to sell it, to make some profit, to pay my employees. But now, expanding your organization, trying to get more market share, Now, not only you have to become a leader, you have to inspire and develop leaders within your organization. So, how you facing this the challenge that you actually didn't sign up in the first place?
Yeah, so for inspiring others with whom you're working.
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
become a leader yourself and inspire other team members to become leaders, similar to what you do in the sport, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest thing is practicing what you preach. You can't be someone that's telling everyone, "Hey, work harder, get this done, communicate actively with people, like with clients, give them updates." You can't ask that of an employee if you're not doing it yourself. So you have to be the example. The best leaders are the ones that lead by example without actually preaching so much. So I think that's the step one is you need to do the right things, follow the processes, and stick to them yourself. But after that, I think it's really tough. It's a delicate balance between you want to be appreciative and supportive when team members with whom you work do a good job. You want to tell them, "Hey, that was great, fantastic. I appreciate you for doing this." And that's extremely important because that's an invaluable part. But at the same time, you need to be checking in with them to find out what are the things they care about and like doing and want to continue to do in their role. Because you can't expect some people with whom you work that are on your team or your employees, no one's going to have the passion for building the company as much as you, as the entrepreneur, as the owner. And you can't expect that for them. That would not be smart to expect that out of others. So going from that point, you need to figure out what are their personal goals they want out of this job and figure out the best ways to set them up for success, however that may be. And that's I think that's the toughest part to figure out is how do you get them to want to work as hard for the business as you want to? And I don't think you should expect it, but it's really tough. And the greatest coaches for sports teams in the world, they figure out a way to get everyone to want to commit because to being on the same team and pushing for the team win rather than just going for their individual talent. So it's very difficult, but I think it comes with talking to the employees or your team members and figuring out what do they enjoy the most out of this job? What do they want to get out of it? And then how can you set up their work and the appreciation you give them for the most success in their mind.
Having a mentor or a coach is one essential part in order to achieve your goals and to develop the skills. You have a great mentor that was your dad. So, what advice do you have for our listeners? How they can, what they should be looking in order to find a right mentor or a right coach in order to take the business to a next level?
I think for finding the right mentor or coach for yourself, I think you got to look for two extremely important things. And I guess I like to compare this to a good caddy when you're playing golf. Like when you go to a nice golf, I'm not a very good golfer, but I've played at a couple nice courses where I had the luxury of having a good caddy. And a caddy has two main roles. One, to be extremely talented golfer. They were a great golfer and they've played it for years. And then number two, they have to know the course on which you're playing like the back of their hand. They know on the greens every little curve and crevice. They know every water hazard or tree on the course. And having a great caddy on the golf course will improve your game immensely because they understand the game and they understand the specific playing field in which you're playing. The same thing applies on the business and entrepreneur side. I think you need to look for someone that has been successful in the business and knows the business very well, but then also knows you and knows what kind of route you're trying to like what path you're looking to carve for yourself. Because every entrepreneur starting a business is going to have their one little niche, their one differentiator that makes them different from others. So you need to find a mentor that has had their own success. It doesn't have to be in the exact same thing that you did or the exact same niche market of yours. However, they should be able to understand and listen to you and know your actual path that you want to take and be able to guide you along that.
Nick, if someone is in love with our conversation, how people can find you, how this process works?
Yeah, so we've got a office in Fairfax, Virginia. However, we've got clients around the country, and we've got our website. Grose Wealth Management is the company, so that's grosewealthmanagement.com.
I like the name. The name is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And so, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Nick Grose, or our YouTube channel, Nick Grose GWM. So posting video content and posting podcasts like this one on which I'm interviewed. So thanks again, Harry. But
yeah, definitely.
Feel free to reach out.
We will share it with you.
Yeah. We've got on our website, we've got a contact us page. So, mainly what we're looking for, like the people with whom we work that find the most success, it's people age 55 to 65 that are looking to make the step into retirement, that have built up at least $1 million in investable assets. That's our main target people. However, we are willing to take openings for younger people age 30 to 40 who are making higher income amounts. So that's with whom we work. And so reach out on our website. And for the disclosure, none of this should be taken as financial advice. Everyone's cases are different. So please consult with a financial advice professional.
Thank you so much. And for all of you following the broadcast, see you in our next episode, how brave entrepreneurs like Nick break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thanks, Harry.
Pleasure.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.